Hey there, everyone, and welcome to episode number 8 of Conversations with Christal. And remember, this is your show for all things mindset, business, and life. And I am so excited today because I have my friend and attorney here, Thomas Gennaro. Thomas, thank you so much for being here with us.
Hey, thank you for having me.
I'm
Excited
ex-
to chat it
I
up today.
I know, and this is a conversation that is really going to be beneficial to my listeners because many people are, I think, intimidated with it by attorneys when it comes to business until they're actually in trouble and need the help of an attorney. So, but before we get into questions, I want you to just share a little bit about yourself. For those of you listening, Thomas and I actually went to the same undergraduate institution and we worked together as university recruiters. And so Thomas has a boxing history, 2 national collegiate boxing championships. He was a 4-time All-American, USA and Golden Glove Regional Championship. And so you have like a very interesting past. And I would love for you to just to share with us a little bit more about yourself and how you became an attorney.
Well, thank you for the nice introduction, a little brief background. First, I
Yeah,
also want to say I'm stoked to be chatting up with you. And I want to promise your
me
listeners
too.
that I promise not to go off topic because you and I have so much fun talking that who knows where the conversation can go. And this is about them,
Right.
providing them content. But I always have so much fun chatting it up with you.
I do
As
too.
you mentioned, we used to work together. We used to have so much fun with the office, with that team. That was
Yes.
almost 11, 12 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a long time ago. And
Started
so
there in 2000. I
so
don't know.
when you left that position, did you immediately move to California?
No. So our boss at the time, El Jefe, might
Yes,
probably be one of the best bosses I've ever had. If you look,
agreed.
it's like he was amazing. So many things he taught me, I apply today.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
he was phenomenal. I talk about him all the time, the great influence
Yeah.
he was, and how lucky I was to have. He actually encouraged me that I don't know if you know this story. It was
I
kind
don't
of
think I
maybe a little
do.
private between he and I, but he saw that I wasn't being fully fulfilled at that position. Although I loved everybody there,
Yeah.
definitely keeping me, but he was like, "You're hungry." He's like, "You
Yes.
miss fighting. You want to chase something else." He goes, "What can I do to support that?" And he supported me in that transition. I jumped on a plane, flew up to Reno, met with Teddy Atlas, who
Mhm.
was the original trainer to Mike Tyson back in the day when he was like a kid.
Yeah.
And I was really inspired by him. Followed that up, came back, and I was like, Everett, I'm gonna take some time. I'm going to New Jersey and I'm going to boxing. I'm gonna go back to fighting and go
Okay.
train. And I remember Everett was like, take your time you need at work, do your training, just get your job done, and I'll help cover for you. I remember there was like one time I came back to the office and I had a black eye because I had a meeting out in like El Dorado High. Came back to then I went to the gym, sparred, came back to the office and had a black eye. And it's like, so how those meetings go? I was like, parents are tough out there, man, but I think I sold them on going to school. It was a heck of a fight, but I think I got them.
That's hilarious.
And he was like, man, what are you doing? I was like, I told you I'm training. He goes, wow, you're really putting it in between work. I don't even know. Yeah, but anyway,
Oh my god,
that
that's
was one of my favorite
hilarious.
stories.
Oh
But
god.
then I went, I kept fighting, and then I took a little, and then I got offered a job to work for the governor, Brian Sandoval, during his campaign,
Okay.
his original campaign. So then
Okay.
I was training and working on the campaign, and that's when I officially left my job with you guys as
Yes.
a recruiter.
Okay.
And I got into politics and boxing, and then chased the Olympics, trying to make the 2012 Olympic team. And then it
Yeah.
wasn't until I unfortunately did not make that team. I didn't make the
Mhm.
Olympics,
Mhm.
and that's a whole other life story experience as an athlete making the transition. But I had a good mentor who was like, enough's enough. It's time to go to law school. That was the original plan. And you've been putting it off, putting it off. And I used to study for the LSAT at the office after we would get off from 5 to like 9, 10 o'clock at night. I'd be at the office and lock up after
Wow.
everybody would leave. Everybody else would take off. And I'd be, all right,
Yeah.
cool. Maybe go grab a bite to eat or coffee at 4:35 p.m. as everybody's leaving. I'd come back
Yeah.
to the office, go through that gate and come in and study all night and then somehow find time for the gym. So I was juggling a few different
Wow.
lifestyles.
You guys, and for those of you listening, it's so interesting for me to hear this because as Thomas just said, like we were working together, but I didn't know that all of that was kind of going on with you behind the scenes. But what I can attest to that our old boss what he saw in you, I too had a feeling that that position as a university recruiter, it was just one of your stops along the way. I knew that that wasn't going to be something long term with you because I could tell it wasn't a fit, like in a good way. Like I just knew that, like, it wasn't like he doesn't have work ethic or anything like that. I just knew that there was something more, something different that you were going to like excel at. But I had no idea that all of that was happening, that you were staying in the office after we left
I
it
used to
at,
sleep on that couch,
oh
actually.
my
Now I remember
goodness.
in the main office. Man, it probably,
Wow.
I think it's been 10 years. They can't come at me for that.
Yeah.
I just like nap on that couch, be so tired. Like,
Wow. I
woke up
love
like at like
that.
2 mornings, like, I need to go home and go to bed. What am I doing? Like,
Right. Exactly. You
take a
got to be
power
here.
nap.
Yeah. You got to be here in the
So,
morning again.
yeah, I was like, there would be times I'd show up late. I was like, oh yeah, I was, I don't know, sleeping still, like, because I don't
Oh my
sleep.
goodness.
It was wild. It
Wow.
was fun.
Yeah. Well,
I
that,
loved that time and I loved that job. I actually felt
yeah.
like really bad and guilty. I was like, why do I feel like I need to leave? Like this job is so wonderful. The people are wonderful. I have so much
Yeah.
fun here. See, here
Yeah.
we go down the rabbit hole that I
I,
promised listeners we
I,
wouldn't. But that
I
is part of
know.
that transition. Like it did
Yeah.
build that foundation that I learned about interacting with people,
Yeah.
interacting with clients,
Yeah.
interacting with what is your goal. And I took a lot of those transferable skills of working with students, transferring to college, high school to college. That was a
Yeah.
very valuable lesson. And that's a lot what I do with entrepreneurs, where they're working a day job or they're trying to get a company
Yes.
up and started and they're trying to transition their life. I remember
Yes.
me going away to college or me trying to transition into an Olympic athlete rather than a collegiate athlete, and then trying to transition from an athlete to an attorney, being punched in the head for 10 years.
Right.
And now I'm going to go use my brain. And you're like, how do I do that? And you got to make that transition. All those are very transferable skills that
Yes.
all of us have. And people think, oh, well, I don't have this, I don't have that. I'm like, okay, you maybe don't have exactly what's on paper, but you
Right.
have what it is in those skill sets that you just develop throughout life of
Yes.
survival. And that's
Yes.
what entrepreneurship is. And that's what I believe
Yeah.
we're going to main focus today. I don't want to hijack the direction of this, but I understand like we're talking about business development, business growth,
Yeah.
entrepreneurship. How do I protect my company? And all
Yes.
those are transferable.
Yes. I'm
Like
so happy
really
you said that
working with your
because,
employees, working on your
yeah.
staff. And that's what Everett taught me. And I
Hmm.
apply to my team,
Hmm.
and it's like when your employees are dedicated to you,
Yeah.
that is by far the most powerful feeling that you can
Hmm.
receive. I
Yeah.
have like an experience working on a campaign where I had employees come up to me. There was a budget issue. And I remember it was state of California. I was running the mayor's campaign in San Diego. And they're like, no budget, like just go. And I was
Hmm.
like, you sure? Like, I'm about to make things pop.
Yeah.
And they underestimated what I could bring to the table. No, just
Uh-huh.
got myself on the back a little bit, but I was like, okay. And I remember like struggling the first couple of weeks of like, use this plan, use this plan. I was like, no, I know my method. It's going to work. Also,
Yeah.
it caught traction. And I had 167 employees
Wow.
and that I was responsible for within
Hmm.
4 weeks.
Mm.
And now I had to task them to execute. And all of a sudden, and I was like, what's my budget? How many employees? And they're like, you can't get enough. You can't get enough. And not only
Okay.
did I get too many employees, I had very high quality, efficient employees that
Hmm.
were doing double the work than they were used to in the past. So I had double the amount of employees doing double the amount of, could execute double the amount of work in half the time. And now they got to pay for that. And I
Yeah.
remember my employees, like the leaders of that group, coming up to me because they picked up, well, decide what was going on with me and the state director and the county directors,
Hmm.
saying, we're having a budget problem. Like, how did you create this? It's like, you didn't give me a cap. I told you
Yes.
I was going to make it go. And all of
Yeah.
a sudden it caught traction. Now I'm like denying people work because we have too many
Yeah.
for our execution, what we needed to do through the campaign. Because you need bodies, you need masses and masses of people to execute a
Yes.
proper campaign. That campaign we had San Diego City, which has over 1 million people. It's like
Hmm.
running a gubernatorial campaign in Nevada
Right.
that has just a couple million. So I was like, wow, this is almost equivalent, although it's a smaller location
Small town. Right.
of land size. We have a mass amount of people to reach. So
Hmm.
campaigns, you need bodies, you need allies, you need a team,
Yeah.
and we were able to probably execute that. But when the employees came up to me, and I remember like implementing things Everett taught me at that job about treating
Hmm.
your employees, and they came up to me and they said, hey, we catch on what's going on about the money.
Hmm.
We got a team. if you ask us to do this, we will execute everything you need, and we're not worried about getting paid because it's what you need. We
Yeah.
don't care about these guys. We don't care about who's running. We got it because you got it. And I just,
Yeah.
wow, like that
That's
was the most fulfilling moment to realize I'm doing something right.
yes.
Like,
Yeah.
and those things when we were talking about earlier off the camera about boundaries, and it was like
Yeah.
sometimes you get burnt, and then sometimes you get that satisfying reward, and it's like
Yeah.
those satisfying rewards one time outweigh 100 times that you get burnt because of what it provides, and hopefully has that trickle effect that they learn that skill and apply it, and it goes to people I never even meet or know of.
Yeah, I mean, and what a compliment that was that they just saw that you had a plan and you had a connection to those that you were leading and they just let you run with it. But I want to go back to something that you said earlier because when you talked about transferable skills, that is something that I hear clients and people talk about, or I see them struggle with. They don't talk about it because I think they don't realize how equipped they are with all of the experience that they have gained over their years in working. Like when I started my virtual assistant business and decided to niche down in real estate, I didn't have any experience in real estate, but I knew that I could learn, that I had skills from jobs that I had had in the past that were absolutely applicable and that I could be successful. I could follow directions. I care about people and how I'm representing my business and myself. And with that alone, that allows you to just put one foot in front of the other. And so I'm just glad that you mentioned that because people forget it's like if unless they have every qualification that matches a job description, it's like they think they can't go for it. And so I'm just glad you mentioned that because we have to give ourselves credit. We really do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
So what's
So
the roadmap? I don't even know if I answered the first question you asked me. What's the roadmap for your listeners? Let's provide them
no,
value. What's their roadmap that they're going to learn today that you want them to educate, and hopefully you'll be able to add great value to?
you will. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So the first question that I have, what are some ways business owners can use your services as an attorney? Because too often entrepreneurs especially only think about hiring an attorney when they're in trouble or when, something has gone wrong. So share with us.
Yeah, that is an unfortunate part. Um, People are much more willing to pay when they got their back against the wall and
Yes.
feel the fire under their feet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think a part of the service I provide is the intangible and
Mm-hmm.
something they never know. So it's what you don't see, what you don't
Yeah.
experience, because you don't realize these problems have been avoided.
Yes.
Until somebody goes through those detrimental problems
Mm-hmm.
and then they get the help ahead of time to prevent them, then they see the value. But when
Yeah.
they're first coming out of the gate and they don't realize how severe some of these problems can become,
Mm-hmm.
and they just dive into it recklessly,
Mm-hmm.
then they're having trouble.
Yeah.
The way I've come up with a fair analogy is entrepreneurs can be very, very successful and gross millions, net millions, and have no
Mm-hmm.
problems and have no idea of the volatility they're running through. I always
Mm-hmm.
kind of compare it to running through a minefield. You can
Yeah,
absolutely run through a minefield and never step on one,
that is true.
and you will be fine. And you
Yeah.
won't even realize you walked through a minefield.
Yeah.
But depending on how large and long that minefield is it 10
Mhm.
yards, 50 yards, 100, a mile? How far is that minefield? Every step you take, your chances go up that you're going to step on one eventually.
Right. Yeah. That's a
And
good analogy.
hiring an attorney who knows what they're doing and structuring a business, knowing about the kind of just how they operate in the
Mhm.
environment that they exist in,
Right.
they're going to help you guide through that minefield. They have like that
Mhm.
scope, they see it, they know
Yeah.
how to avoid the mines, they have that vision and experience. And that's like what a good CEO is
Yeah.
going to bring to the table as well.
Yeah.
Who has 30 years experience as a CEO or somebody who knows their industry. That's why you
Mhm.
pay an expert, is because they're going to help avoid those mines that you're not
Right.
going to step on. Some
Yeah.
of the best CEOs, I think one of the things that really resonated with me, they're like, how do you always know how to make the right decision? It's like, because I've made the wrong decision enough times.
Right. Exactly.
And you're like, okay, like, let's go. Like, I have to be comfortable making the wrong decision, accepting it, and moving forward.
This is so true.
So, and unfortunately, like, I've had to make the wrong decisions. I've been burnt, and or I've seen my clients unfortunately make the wrong decisions and then come hire me to clean it up, which then,
Yeah,
oh wow, I just learned that from somebody else's problem. So when the next client comes around, they're preparing, I know how to prepare them better because of the other client's mistakes I
exactly.
applied.
I
So
love
that's what you're paying for. Unfortunately, they just go, oh, I could just figure this out, or I could do this,
that.
and
Hmm.
I'll file my own trademark, or I'll file my own Secretary of State articles of incorporation or operating
Hmm.
agreements, and
Yeah.
create these partnership agreements. Or here's this licensing deal. Cool. It's a collaboration. And I could go on for days about those issues,
Yeah.
especially with trademarks.
Yes.
I've seen people go, I could just use LegalZoom. It's a fraction of the price. I'm like, great. You filed your trademark in the wrong class. There's 45 different classes. There's goods and then there's services. And then you
Ah.
filed it in one class. Cool, that's great. You have zero protection. You just wasted your money
Mhm.
and your time.
Mm.
And now the clock restarts. And sure, you have common law. That's a whole other thing we could discuss about trademark issues, but that's like a simple thing. LegalZoom,
Mm.
sure, it's great until you have a problem. It'll give you legal documents. I was like, cool. What are you gonna
Right.
do? What says on that legal document? You have something we could stamp and move forward, but
Yeah.
sure, but it doesn't protect you for what you need. You're not getting. So I
Yeah.
love the model of LegalZoom. I mean, I wish I invented
Right.
it. But at the same time, I know it's not really that valuable. Like, it
Right.
provides value in certain circumstances. I've told clients, it's like, you're a single member, like
Mhm.
you don't need to pay me all this
Mhm.
money. I was like,
Mhm.
I'll give you a discount rate and I'll have my law clerk file it because they can
Mhm.
learn how to do it with very low risk and it takes minimal time for me to review it and move
Yeah.
it along. So I'll reduce rates for certain type of clients. But when they have multiple partners, I'm like, don't do that.
Yes.
Don't do that. Like,
Oh,
now
I
you have
agree.
risk. And that's the difference between, like, if you're a single person owning your company or if you have multiple people owning the company, there's that different risk factor. I always go,
Yes.
why do I need this partnership agreement? Why do I need this? I'm like, why are there prenuptial agreements in marriage?
Right.
Marriage
Exactly.
has a higher success rate, but you want a prenup?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
you want
Yeah.
a prenup, but you don't want an operating agreement or bylaws or a partnership agreement or a
Yeah.
shareholder agreement when your marriage has a higher success rate? Like, come on.
Yes.
Like,
That is so true, especially for partnerships. You would be crazy, I feel like, to have a partnership and not seek the advice of an attorney. And you bring up a really good point with a site like LegalZoom. Like, we're not, downing it or whatever. It definitely
no,
serves a purpose. But what
absolutely.
you are saying is the experience that an attorney can bring to the table and the guidance, because that's different than just going online and downloading a form, right? Then you don't may not be the right form, may not be the right section, class, that type of thing, but the experience and the guidance that you get from an attorney is really invaluable. And you only have to do things once and do it right the first time instead
Yeah.
of having to, yes, go
And
back
prevent
and
you spending a lot of money.
spending
I have
money. Yeah.
clients who did their own deal, saved thousands by not doing an attorney. Deal goes belly up
Yeah.
because it wasn't done right. They
Yes.
expose them, create a ton of liability, cost them $30,000, $40,000 later
See,
in attorney fees.
that makes me cringe. So actually, I kind of want to go into a situation that one of my good girlfriends is in, and she is a business owner, and one of her associates, they stole a slogan that she was using in her business and, uses it throughout her business very frequently. And so talk to us a little bit. And I feel like for those online entrepreneurs who are listening, this is especially going to connect with you because many times online entrepreneurs are afraid to put something out there because they are afraid someone else is going to steal their materials, steal their
Yeah,
courses, steal whatever.
yeah.
So talk to us about intellectual property. What do we
So
need to know?
there's two things to take away there with two separate points.
Okay.
I'm gonna stay focused on your specific question, but one that I think is also important about just business entrepreneurship, not the law. The first
Hmm.
one's the law is about how do you protect it and kind of protecting your intellectual property. And the second is about putting your process out there and
Yes.
afraid somebody else is going to steal it.
Yes.
So the first one is the protecting it. Now, somebody had you said a slogan.
Yeah. A slogan that she would use, and she uses it on her website, on social media, and then her associate or her friend is now using it for her business.
Okay, so with intellectual property, when it comes to trademark and copyright, it's first in use. So it's not the
Okay.
first one to go and file it wins the race. It's the first person to
Ah,
use it. Although you're the
interesting.
first one to use it, if you never file it and you never protect it, you
Yeah.
can lose your rights. That's a whole nother subsection.
Okay.
So when you have this trademark and you're the first one to use it,
Hmm.
you have first right of use to use that mark. That's your
Interesting.
copyright or your trademark kind of brand that
Okay.
earmark who you are. So being that she was using that slogan, if she's using it first and somebody else starts to take that same slogan,
Hmm.
kind of that MO like kind of mark that represents who that company is,
Yeah.
then I would send a cease and desist letter. And
Mm.
people are like, do I really want to cause all this? Or I have a trademark. Is it that big of a deal? I'm like, yes, it is. And it's not
Yeah.
personal,
Right.
it's your duty.
Yeah.
Because if you don't protect yourself, the court and the system that is going to enforce it will not protect you if you're not willing to protect yourself. So if
That
you
makes sense.
fail to act, they'll say, you're not protecting it. Now you're coming and crying to me. What steps
Ah,
did you take? So they want to see action. And when you have
okay.
a trademark or a patent, some form of intellectual property, people think it's like a shield. I'm going to protect my property.
Right.
It's not. It's more like a sword. Somebody else is
Oh,
using it. Now you have to go attack. And you have the backing of the USPTO or maybe a state registrar that
okay.
registers, you could do it state or federally. And
Hmm.
now you can go and attack and you have the backing and support and there's statutory damages, which are penalties and punishments. So you don't have to actually prove that you've been damaged or wrong. You just show that this person's using it and I have protection to do so. So I have this sword. Or if
Oh,
somebody tries to claim you're doing it, I guess you have a shield to say, oh no, I got this right here.
right.
Go away. And maybe
Okay.
it's a small shield, but it's more of a sword rather than a shield to get wrap your head around it. So
Yeah.
it provides, so it creates an obligation
Hmm.
to act. And if you fail
Okay.
to act, you can lose that right. Or they could find it to become a generic term where it's being used too much and now you can't stop it. Now it
Exactly.
can't be stopped.
Right.
Of course, like how are we supposed to stop this? You're going to sue 200 million people that use your term, like it's generic
Exactly.
now.
Okay.
So
That's
it's
really
you're going to
helpful.
want to protect it. So that's that first in use. And there's also trade secrets.
Hmm.
Trade secrets are things you learn like within a company, within a job. I
Yes.
don't know the depth of what the slogan is or not. It's probably not going to fall under trade secrets, but that's also another approach, like with your company, that's
Hmm.
unique to that
Hmm.
company and how they operate. It's
Hmm.
usually more systems and mechanics of the company.
Yes.
Slogans I admittedly would have to maybe look into that a little bit more, and you can maybe use that as a tool to prevent the other person from using that slogan.
Okay.
So
But the trade secrets, keep talking about this because I'm thinking about online entrepreneurs who have courses and they may be thinking, the things that I'm teaching in this course, people buy my course, they have access to it, and now they could copy it or they could use my processes that I'm sharing in this course with others. So
that's going to be more copyright, not trade secret. Trade
I
secret is going to be
see.
more of an
Okay.
employee within a company that's going
Got
to go
it.
and use what they learned
Okay.
within the company.
Okay.
You know,
Okay. So that's
it's
more
a little bit
copyright.
different there. Yeah, it's more, that's still going to fall under copyright when you put your information out there.
Okay.
And one other thing to talk about, I want to make a important distinction or note of, not distinction, a note of, is you don't have to 100% rely on the USPTO that you filed a trademark or you filed copyright with the federal government or within your state. You also have common law rights, which is just that you are the person using that slogan or using that information, that mark, slogan, copyright, that intellectual property.
Okay.
Despite it not being filed, you could go out and prevent the other person and say,
Okay.
cease and desist using this. You can still file your trademark and show that it predates the use of theirs because you have to provide a specimen, they call it, as I'm
Okay.
quoting here, specimen. And it's
Okay.
just like a proof of evidence that this was an existent in commerce in the general population could find you
Okay.
or see your mark. Um, and that will provide proof. But you can't like retroactively like, oh, now it's filed, but you were using it before. You'd be
Got
using
it.
a common law approach, which then would still protect you to prevent them from using it. It would
Okay.
damage it. Your sword isn't going to be as lethal, but you still
Mhm.
have a sword and you have a cause of action to stop somebody else from using your intellectual property.
Okay.
So don't just think just because I don't have it filed on SOL, like you still have options. So I want
Right.
listeners to know that in case that comes about, despite not having it. It's just not all these statutory aggressive damages, but it's you still have remedies and you can
Okay.
still stop them from using it.
Okay, thank you for making that distinction because I think that's really helpful. And I'm glad that I have one other question that I want to ask and then we'll wrap up. But I'm glad that we touched a little bit on this because and you may want to share something about this too, but at the end of the day, as a business owner, when you are creating value for others and you're creating products or services, don't ever hold back on putting yourself out there and sharing your gifts with the world because you're afraid someone is going to copy what you're doing.
100,
Don't even exist and operate in that mindset,
100. I
right?
fully
Right.
support. I'll give people the blueprint. You want my blueprint?
Yeah.
Good luck executing it. You think you could operate what I operate? You think you have?
Right.
Go for it. I want the
Yeah.
competition. Make
Yeah.
me hungry.
Yeah.
People are so afraid, like, oh, I have an idea. Well, I got to protect that idea. I think people want to steal your idea. Tell me how you execute it. I want to know the
Right.
execution. I don't care. Like, I genuinely don't care about
Mhm.
ideas. I care
Right.
about the execution.
Right.
You have an idea, how are you going to execute it? It's
Yeah.
okay if it's wrong. It's okay if it's not going to work the first time. But what are
Yes.
you doing to execute it?
Yeah.
Those are the people that I'm inspired by.
Yeah. Exactly.
So put it out there, but work. I mean, you're not going to make any money hiding your product.
Right.
It's about making money. People say,
Yeah.
oh, it's not about the money. It's about the money.
Yeah.
It's about how you make the money, where the money comes from.
Right.
That's important. That's very important.
Mhm.
But it is about money. That's how you create resources. That's how you grow.
Yeah.
You breathe. Money helps companies breathe. It's oxygen to a
Yes.
company.
Absolutely. And they provide opportunity. The more money that you make, not only are you getting money from a value that you're putting out there in the marketplace, but you can then hire people. You're helping someone's, pay their mortgage or pay their bills. You hire an assistant, you hire whoever, and it keeps perpetuating. And so operate with an open hand. Don't operate with a closed fist because you'll always just stay, I don't know, stuck. You'll
Exactly.
you'll you'll hit a ceiling like every time.
You're bundled up. You're in a ball.
Yeah.
You're not open. You can't
Yeah,
receive.
exactly.
You
You
gotta
can't
open up.
receive.
Allow it to go
Right.
out. Allow it to come back in.
There you go.
And I love the point you said, and I want people to really hear that. And I want to repeat what you said is
Mhm.
you're providing a job for others. You
Yeah.
have a duty at that point when you create something to provide for others.
Yeah.
They may have a family, they may have kids,
Right.
they have bills. So
Hmm.
now you take on that responsibility as an entrepreneur and an employer to
Hmm.
create enough work and income to not only self-sustain, but to sustain
Right.
other people. And those
Yes.
people need to be paid first
Yeah. Yeah.
before you get what's left over after the execution. Those people rely on you, and there's very important people who are going to be your number two, number three, or
Yes.
in a giant corporation that need that job, and you have a duty to provide, and
Hmm.
then you're providing for other families.
Right.
It's a powerful thing and a wonderful
It is.
opportunity. You
Yeah.
really see the beauty behind that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love that you brought up
Okay.
that point. I just want to
Yeah.
really drive that home to motivate people. Hopefully it
Yeah.
motivates.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is. It's really powerful when you think about it. Okay, this has been like such a insightful conversation. So I have one more question and then I'm going to let you go. Share with us like 3 tips side hustler entrepreneurs can implement to make sure that their business on the side is not legally conflicting with their 9 to 5 job.
Um, it's a great question.
Yeah.
Definitely I've had people come up with that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's also just a tolerance of risk. Uh,
Yeah.
I think a big hard no is stealing from your current employer.
Right.
If you're
I
taking
agree.
documents, if you're taking trade secrets, you're taking proprietary information, meaning
Right.
that's confidential to only them.
Yes.
You're going to learn and you're going to gain experience and you're getting paid for that. And so when you
Right.
transition out and do it
Mm-hmm.
proudly and do it where you can maybe even come back and add value to your prior company.
Mm-hmm.
That's the transition. If you're going in to directly compete, you're going to be going into the market to compete.
Yeah.
Competition is good, supply and demand.
Right.
So there's a market space.
Mm-hmm.
Competition's healthy for the
Yeah.
economy. So we want that.
Right.
But ultimately, you'll hear about non-competes. Um, non-competes are actually very tough to
Mm-hmm.
kind of enforce. They are
Okay.
enforceable. I would definitely speak to an employment attorney or corporate
Okay.
attorney to help guide you on that. If you did sign a non-compete,
Okay.
it can't be overbearing.
Right.
Kind of a rule of thumb is courts will look to see if it's unconscionable. There's a lot of other factors, totality of the circumstances, but really just think, is this unconscionable? Are you
Mm-hmm.
saying that just because it's 5 miles away or 10 miles away, the job, like they can't do it? Well, why
Mm-hmm.
can't they do it? How does it harm you? What did you provide this employee? You see it
Wow.
unfortunately like in the medical field a lot with doctors and nurses. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, if you work for us, you can't work anywhere else for 2 years in this specialization. Like, how are they supposed to make a
Mm.
living?
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're like, oh, we gave them trade secrets. Well, what trade secrets are they learning at your job that's not custom to just their job as
Industry. Right.
or a
Yeah.
doctor? It's like, what are they doing that's so different? That's not. So those are like things to. Will they maybe make it a little bit of a headache? You might have a little pushback. You might have to take that on because of that
Mm-hmm.
non-compete.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do blatantly take proprietary secrets, trade
Mm-hmm.
secrets from a company and then take them and apply them, you're probably going to catch yourself in a little bit of trouble. If you're stealing
Yeah.
documents and copying them,
Right.
you're crossing the line. I mean, that's kind of a moral ground.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And one other thing too that I am thinking of while you're talking is making sure that when you work your side business, you're working it on the side. Your lunchtime, before, after work, don't do it on your company time. And I even go as far as like when I was in higher ed, even when I was knew that I wanted to start a business, like I never even used my like university email address for like personal or anything
No,
for personal use. Like it like
I can touch you in the butt.
that's their property.
Stealing time is that they
Yeah.
catch you for as well.
Yes. Yeah.
So when you said, I think I might have went down the wrong rabbit hole there. When you said doing a side hustle, it has no
No, but it
conflict.
was
It's
good. It was
not the
good.
same type of business
Hmm.
that you're talking about, right? It's a completely different business that's unrelated to the proper employer.
Well, I mean, that's another option, but I'm glad that we went down because I do actually have a client right now she learns a lot of like of the same information that she has already like implemented in her business in her 9 to 5 job. So I'm glad where you took it because that's applicable. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So thank you. This has
Oh,
been like such a fun conversation. And I want to make sure that listeners know how to connect with you. So if they want to talk with you about like getting their business legally started, or definitely if you're entering a partnership, please definitely talk to Thomas before you know, do anything. Partnerships, especially like hear this saying that like partnerships are the ships that don't sail or something like that.
what?
So I can't remember where I heard it from, but anyway, partnerships are fine, but just make sure that they're legally sound. But yeah, Thomas, where do you want people to connect with you? How can they find you?
I guess traditional email way.
Okay.
I don't mind receiving emails. I love receiving emails.
Okay.
Thomas at GennaroLaw.com, THOMAS at GENNAROLAW.com. I
Perfect.
guess the traditional social media approach, just
Okay.
Gennaro147. You could find me
Okay.
on most social media platforms. So just
Perfect.
THOMASGENNARO147.
Perfect. All right. Well, there you have it, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. And remember, don't be afraid of attorneys. They're our friends. All right, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.